Let's not beat around the bush here. Licensed games are usually garbage. Granted, fun garbage, at least for a little while, but garbage no less. So for this reason, I was inclined to pick up Beetle Adventure Racing for the N64, as these sorts of games at least usually make for a fun review. And plus, after several stressful reviews of serious and story-based adventure games, I was in the mood for something a little bit more lighthearted and wholesome, and I think ticks those boxes more than a racing game where every single car is a 1997 Volkswagen New Beetle. However, before I harmfully set it up too much, I'll point out right now that this 1999 arcade racer, developed by Paradigm Entertainment, is actually quite a pleasant game. Yeah, I know, it's not too common for me to praise a game this early on in a video, but I guess I just don't want anyone to click away thinking it's going to be hot garbage just because it's licensed. So, the question that now remains is, how do you make a playable game that's based around a consumer-grade two-door coupe from the 90s? The term adventure racing is used by no accident. Each track does have a linear path you can follow if you want, but there are also plenty of hidden alternative routes, ensuring that if you're adventurous enough, there is a grand opportunity to take shortcuts and undercut the competition. This is where Beetle Adventure Racing mostly shines. Sure, each vehicle is mostly identical, but the track designs are very well thought out. We are getting a bit ahead of ourselves though, so let's take a moment to focus more on the specifics. As I've already said numerous times already, every single vehicle is a Volkswagen Beetle. Although that's not to say they're all exactly the same, just of different colours, a la truck racing, as they all have different handling, acceleration, and top speed specs. Some of the paint designs even get a bit daring further on, incorporating stripes and whatnot, and the more you progress through the game, the better the Beetles will get. The main crux of Beetle Adventure Racing is the championship circuits. There are a handful of these that progressively get more difficult, and as you win, the tracks will be unlocked for usage in a few other single player modes. It's here where the bonus points come into play. Not to be mixed up with the points you earn from pole position in each race to progress, around each track you'll find bonus boxes of various denominations. The bigger point loads can be found in the hidden parts of the tracks, giving you more of an incentive to explore, but sometimes these collectathons can be a bit fruitless. It should be noted that not all alternative routes in the races are shortcuts. In fact, some are quite the hefty detour. The thing is, if you're racing in a championship, there are no do-overs unless you find 50 points, and even then, they will only earn you a single redo. Otherwise, if you position badly at the end of a race, you'll just have to suck it up. The choice is either to continue with what points you have, hoping you'll catch up in the later races, or start the whole damn championship again. And the thing is, finding 50 points can be quite the process. If you must take detours to collect them anyway, what's the point? If you're just concentrating on winning a championship, for the most part, you're better off keeping to a more direct and quicker route. It is fun to explore a track, figuring out the fastest way to proceed, but I feel the bonus points could have been utilised a bit better. It would have been nice if these were somehow connected to your championship points, for instance, incentivizing you to explore while also trying to win. Otherwise, if you do find all 100 points in a track, you'll unlock an arena for the Beetle Battle mode, which I'll get to shortly. This is where the points do make sense, and some are rather well hidden. But don't expect to win a race if you do decide to hunt them all out.
Second place.
I've never driven a Volkswagen Beetle, but the ones in-game handle fantastically.
Nice wheel.
This is another positive point. The Beetles are loads of fun to glide through the levels at speed. The brakes can be touchy, but otherwise they have a good weighty feel to them that makes them a joy to control. This is just as well, since most tracks are quite long for an N64 game. Most races will take close to 10 minutes to complete. This is facilitated by nitro boxes scattered around, of which are very satisfying to hit consecutively if they're all laid out in such a way. Luckily, this being an arcade racer and all, the game does not penalise you for driving off the road into the verge. Generally, simple grass will somehow slow down cars massively in other racing games if driven over, which is a bit of a trope if you think about it, but Beetle Adventure Racing does not care. Take all the corners you want, and pay no mind to the opponents honking as you do so. Another great aspect of the game, and what I'm sure it's fondly remembered for, are the multiplayer modes. There is your bog standard split screen racing, but a nice unexpected surprise was the additional battle mode. Instead of racing, vehicular combat is the special of the day as you're thrown into small arenas. Up to 4 players can go head to head, and the goal is to collect 6 differently coloured ladybugs scattered around random points of the maps. You can weaponize your Beetle for an advantage, which is cooler the more you think about it, and every direct hit will deprive a competitor of a ladybug. Once you've successfully collected all 6, you'll then have to make it to the exit unharmed to win. This mode came completely out of nowhere, much like the entire game really, and is a major point in its favour. It ensures plenty of replayability too, which also makes it a great party game. On a technical level, Beetle Adventure Racing does quite a lot to push the N64 to its limits. Unintentional fog is very rare, likely hidden by the way the tracks twist and bend all over the place, and the frame rate stays pretty consistent throughout the races. This is impressive since there is quite a lot of detail and plenty of background animation, and is all probably thanks to a 3D engine built in-house at Paradigm. The game doesn't use the expansion pack either. Not like it's needed, the game chugs along fine by itself, but I guess N64 graphics could always be a little less blurry. It should be noted that the save pack is necessary to play too. There are no cartridge saves or password systems, and while we're discussing packs, there is also support for the Rumble pack, which you may or may not find important. Regardless, the choice of just the Beetle license for a racing game is an odd one, but it certainly makes Beetle Adventure Racing unique. It is well worth owning for the battle mode alone, but the encouraged exploration of the maps and the excellent handling of the bugs are the real winners here. There's a bit more licensing weirdness going on too. There's another version of this game called Hsv Adventure Racing, which was released in Australia only and replaced all the Volkswagens with Holdens, although seems exactly the same otherwise. As you can probably tell by my outrageous accent, I'm Australian, but I had no problem buying the Beetle version locally. I didn't have to import it or anything, so I guess they must have released both versions down under. Just as well too, HSVs are for tailgating bogans. Ultimately, there was never another Beetle Adventure Racing game, but there does seem to be indicators that it was at least in development. In the depths of the internet, if you look hard enough, you'll find an old resume for a 3D artist who claims to have worked on it in the year 2000. Otherwise, if racing games involving nothing but Volkswagen Beetles are something you crave, there's also Beetle Buggin', released on the PC in the year 2000. I know nothing about it and I'm not motivated enough to really find anything out, but it's there if you're desperate for more bug action.